Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of Next Gen Sports Talk. On today's show, again, it is going to be mostly a football-focused show. Actually, it's going to be all football-focused. We are going to start with, again, what we've been talking about every week now, pretty much, the Kansas City Chiefs, and then we will get a little bit into the Bills-Bengals game, and then we'll take it from there. So, let's start off with this Kansas City Chiefs team. Now, yesterday, as most of you guys know, they played the Houston Texans, and they lost. And now you might look at the score 20-10. If you didn't watch the game, you could be like, oh, well, yeah, they didn't play well, and they were losing the whole way. But that's not what happened. And I didn't watch the game either, but I saw highlights this morning, and the Chiefs choked. If I'm going to be honest, they screwed up bad. They were tied 10-10, and then they absolutely screwed up that game from there after the failed fourth down from their own 30. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily agree with the play call. If it was Madden, I would agree with the play call, but I don't really know. If you trust your quarterback, go ahead, but I don't know. It is Patrick Mahomes, but this year's Patrick Mahomes is not really Patrick Mahomes. So, again, Andy Reid probably does trust Patrick Mahomes more than anybody, but still very controversial call. Didn't end up working out, and then Texans go and score. And then later on in the game, on another fourth down, Chiefs, was it a fourth down? I think it was a fourth down. Later in the game, on another fourth down, ball goes right off of Travis Kelce's hands and into a defensive player for an interception. Now, this is another example of the Chiefs fumbling this game. Now, right now, I don't know if that play was necessarily Mahomes' fault, but I watched the first half of this game, and he was not playing well in the first half. They got shut out in the first half. Houston scored 10. They didn't score a single point. So, yeah, that first half was a lot on the quarterback. And now I have some stuff I want to talk about, starting with there are two teams right now in the NFL. Two teams who have the same record as the Kansas City Chiefs right now, and that is the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins. Now, if you told me before the season the Ravens would be as good as the Chiefs, I would have said fine. If you told me Lamar would be playing injured the whole year and the Ravens would still be better than the Chiefs, I would have said no way, because Patrick Mahomes, most people would agree with me that Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. And then with Lamar Jackson hurt, Patrick Mahomes is definitely a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. But they have the same record. How? I don't know, because Lamar Jackson has been god-awful this year. He's been terrible. Mahomes, on the other hand, started the year really well, actually. I don't know how many people actually remember that, but in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, he was playing amazing. He was an MVP level player, and now they suck. And then the Miami Dolphins with Tua as their quarterback. Tua. I just don't understand how you can have the same record as the Miami Dolphins. So, yeah. And then these other teams who also have a better record than the Kansas City Chiefs are Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Carolina Panthers, 49ers, Bears, Cowboys. If I asked you before the season if any of those teams, any of them, would be better than the Chiefs, even the Packers are better than the Chiefs and the Seahawks. I don't think anybody would even say those teams would be better than the Chiefs to begin the year. If I asked you if any of those 5 teams that I just listed would be better than the Chiefs before the season, you would probably say no. Tampa, great in the beginning of the year, has not looked good now, 7-6. Panthers, they've been a surprise this year. They could be a surprise playoff team if they make it, 7-6. 49ers, this is where you start getting to, okay, maybe they're a little bit better than people expected, and they actually have a really good record at 9-4. Still better than the Chiefs. Bears, probably the most surprising team out of all these. I think they're also 9-4 as the 7th seed in the NFC. Also better than the Chiefs. And then the Cowboys. 6-1. Better than the Chiefs. Now, well, some of these teams, these are all good teams, except for maybe the Cowboys, who are mediocre. All of these teams have winning records. Yes, I understand that. But if you ask me, would the Chiefs, through, 14 weeks? Through 14 weeks, would the Chiefs be better than 7-6? I would have said yes. And I think most people would have agreed with me and also said yes. Now, 9-4 is probably right at that range where most people would have had them at. Right with the 49ers and the Bears. Some people might have even had them at 10-3. Who knows? 11-2 is a stretch, but some people, with Patrick Mahomes, the way they played last year, best team in football, whatever, some people could have had them at 11-2, and they have been underperforming like crazy. The last thing I want to get to. Worst starting quarterback in the NFL? Who do you guys think it is? Probably, in my opinion, I would have said J.J. McCarthy or Shedeur Sanders. Probably J.J. McCarthy, in my opinion. The Minnesota Vikings are only one game worse than the Kansas City Chiefs. Vikings are 5-8, Chiefs are 6-7. So they're like right there. Record-wise, they're almost the same team. Now, if you watch them play, they're obviously not, because the quarterback play in Minnesota is so much worse. But if you're looking at just the standings, you'll say, oh, well, Vikings and the Chiefs are the same. They play the same. Whatever. That's pretty bad if you're going to be compared to the Vikings like that. Compared to J.J. McCarthy, one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. If not the worst quarterback in the NFL. Now let's get to the Bills and Bengals game. So same thing with this one. I only watched the first half, then I had to run out and do something. But the beginning I saw, I had the part of the game that I saw, I had one takeaway. Man, these are the two best quarterbacks in the NFL. Joe Burrow coming off an injury a month before doctors said he would come back. And he played like that in the first half. That was unbelievable. I know Josh Allen didn't play the best in the first half, but he was making some crazy throws. He had this one touchdown pass, that was just insane. And me and my dad were talking. We said, well, Josh Allen is a better improviser while Joe Burrow doesn't miss his target. And that showed yesterday. Josh Allen is a great improvising quarterback. Him and Mahomes are the two best in the NFL at that by far. It's not even close. Josh Allen, that's what he did yesterday. I mean, he was breaking out of sacks like nobody's business, throwing on the run. He was doing all that. And then on the other side, you have Joe Burrow, where he is making pinpoint passes. He had one pass to Gesicki on the sideline. Yes, Gesicki made a great catch, but the defender's hand is right here. Burrow throws it right here above his hand. That's just perfect ball placement. And that's what you want from the best top three quarterback. And Joe Burrow is a pocket passer. Josh Allen throws on the run, so they're different people. Joe Burrow, if I were to compare Joe Burrow to anybody in the NFL, it would be Matthew Stafford, the possible MVP for this year. Because they both throw on the run. They don't really throw on the run as much, that much. They are great from the pocket. They can spot balls like it's nobody's business. So if I were to give Joe Burrow a comparison, it would be Matt Stafford. And yeah, I think this is the year where you can clearly see, even though Joe Burrow just came back, he's barely played this year, I think he is better than Patrick Mahomes. That sounds crazy because Patrick Mahomes is in the GOAT conversations. Who knows? Maybe he'll be back next year. Maybe he won't. But right now, Joe Burrow has been playing better. Yeah. So, also, I want to talk a little bit about these playoff pictures because I know we've been talking about it a lot, but these things change very quickly, right? So let's just get into it again. In the NFC right now, the Los Angeles Rams are the number 1 seed by, half a game. They're the number 1 seed by half a game with the Packers right behind them at 9-3-1. Rams are 10-3, and then you have the Eagles, Buccaneers. Those are the 4 division leaders. And then in the wild card, you have the Seahawks, 5 seed, Niners, the 6 seed, and then the Bears are down to the 7 seed. Where to start? Let's start with the wild card because I think it's more, let's get the boring stuff out of the way. More interesting part is this 4 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's start with the wild card. Chicago Bears currently sitting on the brink of the wild card, and the 2 teams that are really on the bubble right now are the Detroit Lions and the Carolina Panthers. Lions have a 53% chance to make the playoffs, Panthers with a 30% chance. And then it goes to the Cowboys, who only have a 6% chance to make the playoffs, so they're pretty much out of it now, especially if the Eagles win today. Only way Cowboys make the playoffs is if they win the division, and I do not think that's going to happen. So, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. They are 9-4, currently 1 game ahead of the Lions. And they just lost to the Packers. The Bears, let's see, do the Bears play the Lions again this year? I do not know. I know they play the 49ers this year, which, if you know me, I'm just going to say they lose that game because, I just am. Because I'm a biased 49ers fan. You guys all know that. But the Bears, they do play the Lions once again this year, last week of the season. So that game could very well determine whether or not the Lions make the playoffs. Now, here's where it gets interesting. With the 49ers and the Seahawks, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams in the NFC West. Remember, 49ers are only a game back of the Seahawks and the Rams. Both the Seahawks and the Rams are sitting at 10-3. 49ers are at 9-4. So, Rams and Seahawks have only played each other once this year. So that means they play each other again. When do they play each other again is the question. They play each other Thursday Night Football, Week 16. That is a huge game. Huge game. As a 49ers fan, I really want the Seahawks to win that game. If the Seahawks win that game, remember, we're just assuming that every team wins next week. All 3 of them. Seahawks, Rams, Niners, all win next week. So it's still Rams, Seahawks have the same record, and the Niners are 1 game behind. Seahawks at home, if they end up winning that game, they take the lead in the division, and the Rams would slide down to the 6th seed in the NFC because the 49ers would have the tiebreaker over the Rams because the Rams loss to the Seahawks would be a divisional loss. So that would be huge. And then in Week 18, the 49ers play the Seahawks. And if they win, if the 49ers win their 3 games, one of them against the Colts, who we'll get to in a minute because that's interesting, with Daniel Jones being out, their season's over, which sucks. But one of them's the Colts, one of them's the Bears, and then the other one is why am I blanking? Cardinals. I think they play the Cardinals next week, Week 15. So they could, if they beat the Bears, I think it's a no-brainer that they win all of those games. Oh, no, sorry, the Titans, not the Cardinals. Titans. Even better, right? So if they beat the Bears, they win all 3 of those games. No problem, because Colts are a backup quarterback. Cam Ward's pretty much a backup quarterback, too. He sucks. And then they play the Seahawks. If the Seahawks beat the Rams, and this gets me excited, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. If the Seahawks beat the Rams, that Week 18 game is for the division. And it could very well be for the 1 seed. Actually, it would be for the 1 seed if all these teams went out. It would be for the 1 seed, which is kind of crazy if you ask me, that the San Francisco 49ers could be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Actually, wait, the Packers are not. So it wouldn't necessarily be for the 1 seed, but it could be if the Packers lose another game. Now let's go to the AFC side. AFC side is a lot, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it more interesting. Actually, first, before we get to the AFC side, let's talk a little bit about the Buccaneers and Panthers. So, Panthers are currently sitting at 7-6, same record as the Bucs. Let's look at their schedules for the rest of the year. So, Week 15, Buccaneers play the Falcons. That is probably a win, even though, see, this is just predictions, even though they lost the Saints this week, so you can't really determine anything for sure. I say they beat the Falcons, move to 8-6. Panthers, that week, play the Saints. That's a win. Both teams are 8-6. And then the week after that, Week 16, Buccaneers play the Panthers. That is a huge game. And remember, it's in Carolina. Panthers win that game. They're 9-6. Buccaneers fall to 8-7. Week 17, Bucs play the Dolphins, win 9-7. Panthers play the Seahawks. Woo! Woo-hoo! Panthers play the Seahawks. Interesting. I'm gonna say right now it's a loss. So that means both teams would have the same record. I think it would be 10-6. Yes, 10-6. And then in Week 18, guess what? Bucs and Panthers play again against each other. I think the Panthers win that game too, which means they have the tiebreaker over Tampa. They also have a better record than Tampa, so it doesn't even matter about the tiebreaker. Panthers win that division. They sneak into the playoffs as a 4 seed. Now we can go to the AFC. Hold on, I'm just pulling up the playoff picture really quick. History. Okay, so AFC playoff picture. 1 seed right now is the Broncos. 2 seed right now is the Patriots. 3 seed right now is the Jaguars. The reason I can't say that with a straight face, 1 seed Broncos. Who thought they would be winning their division? Not many people with the Kansas City Chiefs in that division. 2 seed Patriots. Who thought they would be winning that division with the Bills? Nobody. 3 seed Jaguars. Again, even though Texans aren't as good, the Jaguars have just not been good. Who thought they would be winning that division at 9-4? 3 seed. And then you have the Steelers. Even them, who thought they would be winning the division with the Ravens in that division. And then you got the Bills, Chargers, Texans in the wild card. This AFC playoff picture is pretty much over. Because here's the thing. If the Chargers win today, they're 9-4. They have to lose 3 more games in order to have the same 7 losses with the Chiefs. Will that happen? Hope not. Hope we don't have to come down to that. Texans, they would have to lose 3 more games as well because of the tiebreaker. They would need to lose 8 games in order for the Chiefs to make it if the Chiefs win out. Don't think that's going to happen. Texans and Chargers play each other, so we don't know who I'm going to be rooting for in that game yet. But we'll see. Bills at 9-4. They would also have to lose 3 games. Not going to happen, especially after the way Josh Allen played last week. Or, I guess, this week. Not going to happen. So, AFC playoff picture is set. And it sucks because I was really hoping the Colts would make the playoffs this year. And it's just not going to happen after the Sam Darnold. After the Daniel Jones injury. Wrong New York. Wrong quarterback. That's a failure on New York. Sorry. So, that's all we have time for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Milan Patel. I'll see you guys later. Peace.